help
No.
out, or?
No, what that is because our clients can come once every 4 weeks, we see the same people many times in a year. So when I say unique households, that is, so there was 16 households in, or we'll go with Bruderheim, 28 households that came to us within 2020. Some of those people may have come once. Some of those households obviously came more than once. They may have come every month. So, and it's just when they feel the need, they will come to us. They can only come once every 4 weeks, and we're pretty strict on that. Every once in a while we mess up and we don't realize that they should have waited another week. So that's why the unique, as opposed to the number of hampers that we actually handed out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Question two,
good.
sorry, before is it okay if I ask another question?
Yep.
When you speak about actual hampers, is that a person or is that a household? Is that
That's a household.
So 40.
That's a household.
So there's, for Bruderheim, for actual hampers is 113 households. Is that correct?
Yep. That was 113 hampers. And that was 28 households
So
that
28
were
households,
served.
okay.
So obviously you can tell somebody came more than once, right? A bunch of them do come. We do have quite a few that do come very, very regularly, and some that will come once every 2 or 3 months when they feel the need. You have to remember, our intent is to help people get through the month. So that's why we say you can only come once every 4 weeks. We don't want to become their weekly grocery store. So that's why we say, you can come every 4 weeks, but you are expected to avail yourself of other ways. And quite a lot of people, it really is that they just can't make their dollars stretch from month to month to month. They can get through almost all of it, and then they run out of money. People on AISH, seniors on a fixed income, they're probably our bigger ones. Families that have unexpected expenses too. And we also tell our clients, once they say get back to work, even if you've got back to work, don't stop coming to us, because inevitably what's happened is they have built up a large debt load behind them. So we tell them, keep coming to us until you can start getting a handle on your debt as well. Because if you pay your bills and you get to the end of the month and it's like, I really could use some food, then come to us. That's what we're there for. We're there to help people get through. So that's our weekly breakdown. Our stats about where it shows 35.9% of our clients that we see are children. That's pretty close to the national average. It stays fairly consistent, as you'll see on the next slide. Number of children percentage wise, 34%, 37, 35. It's pretty close. It stays very similar. That's too high, in my opinion, that we have that many children that have to, that some of their food is not available if their parents were not able to access the hampers. So we don't like that. The Christmas hampers, I'll just leave that part there because I actually have a much better document here that shows a much better breakdown. As you know, in 2019 and 2018, we did not provide hampers for Bruderheim. That was, you guys did that, or Bruderheim handled their own. We did have 2 hampers in 2019 that were identified as Bruderheim, but they were actually rural residents that had Bruderheim mailing addresses. So we include them as they come from Bruderheim. That's where they're from in our statistics. As you can see this year, for 2020 Christmas hamper, we did hand out hampers for Bruderheim. There was 32 hampers altogether. I think we still had 2 that were rural. And Bruderheim Fire Department still agreed to do the deliveries for us for all of anybody in Bruderheim. And they actually did do one of the rural ones, the other one, and a couple of the people that lived in town said that they would rather pick up their own hampers. And that's the client's option. You know, we're not going to force them to say, you have to take the delivery from the fire department. So that's the way it went. Of the 32 hampers that were associated with Bruderheim, 15 homes had just a single adult. Large majority of those were seniors. 2 homes had a single adult and 1 child, so a single parent type situation. 3 homes where there was 2 adults, and I'm saying 2 adults because it wasn't necessarily couples, you know, it's not always a husband and wife. 9 homes where there was 2 adults with children, and the number of children would range between 1 and 5 children in a house. Then 1 home with 3 adults, 1 home with 3 adults and a child, and 1 home with 4 adults and a child. And those 3 adults and the 4 adults with a child is usually a multi-generational family that's living together. Our Christmas hampers included, for family or groups, home that had 2 people or more, or no, 3 people or more, got a turkey. For 1 or 2 people in a household, they got a chicken. We just find that it's a lot of meat for a single person. Most of the time finds a turkey just way too much to deal with. And then we would provide as well all the food that they would need for Christmas Day. And I know that many of the families will make that stretch a little bit longer than just that day. We also provide a soup kit when we give out chickens and turkeys. In that kit is the instructions on how to take the carcass and make stock. And then we give them the ingredients to also make a healthy soup out of any leftover meat using that stock. So, and we include things like celery and barley and the spices to go with it. So it's a way to make sure that they get the best value out of that meat product. Let me see. Any questions about our Christmas hamper program?
Anyone have any questions for Colette?
I have a question. Not dealing with the Christmas hampers, but Colette, how do the residents get their hampers? Do they come to you? Do you sometimes deliver to them? How does that work?
For the weekly hampers, okay, they phone us. The way it works is I'll just go through my whole spiel about how hamper works. They call us. We take up. We hand out hampers Thursday mornings, and you must make an appointment. And we've always had this. A lot of food banks were just drop-ins. We've always had, you must make an appointment to come in, and we like to cut off our appointment or our call-ins up Tuesday at noon, so that it gives us time to go grocery shopping, make sure we have enough stuff for Thursday morning. When a client calls in, sometimes when they'll say that they can't get in to pick up a hamper, we will ask if they have a neighbor or somebody that can drive them. Some are able to access that, and we have a few from Bruderheim and other places that they'll always come together. You know, 2 or 3. I've had up to four different households will come in one vehicle, just because that works really good for everybody, and that's fine. It makes it easy for everybody. We don't, up until COVID, we did not deliver. Sometimes we were able to get Karen Peddle, who works out of the Vegreville Social Services. She was able to deliver for us, but we as volunteers don't deliver. It's a liability security issue.
Okay.
Because of COVID, FCSS is able to help us out right now. And we are doing deliveries on a fairly regular basis now. FCSS is also doing our intake for us. And that started before COVID. And that has been a tremendous boon to us. And Sarah, I don't know if you're still on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What it means for us is when the clients come in and they're talking to the FCSS, she's able to, she enters the information into our computer system, but she's also able to, from that, see if they need any other help. And she specifically asks them if they need other stuff. And in the past, what we would do is, somebody asks us if they, they need help with taxes. Okay, well, what are we going to do? Phone FCSS and we'd give them a number to call. We weren't able to do anything as volunteers. Now with FCSS right there, they're able to follow up and do all of those things. And I think we've heard from the clients that it's great. And FCSS as well is telling us that they are feeling like they are giving better support to the citizens in the county. So for now, we have delivery. I'm not sure what we're going to do after COVID. That is definitely going to be something we're going to have to look at. But we don't, as volunteers, can't do that. We don't have, it would involve getting insurance for travel and everything like that. So.
Okay, well, thanks for that information. That's good to know.
Yeah, and just a new program that we're going to start this year. It's called After the Bell, and it will provide snacks to youth in the county throughout the summer. We will be working with, again, FCSS to determine which youth will receive these weekly food packs and how to deliver them. And this is through a grant through Food Banks Canada. So this is something new we've never done before. So we're going to try it out and see, but we will be providing snack packs for children that, and they will get them every week, much like they would have gotten stuff through schools and that. So it's an additional, and parents don't have to be clients of the food bank to be involved in this.
So with that
That's
program,
something new for us.
Is that strictly through FCSS where you get information, or will you be contacting schools to see if there's needs that you can follow up on?
Sarah and I are going to figure out how we're going to do that.
Fair enough.
We haven't got all the details worked out yet. I mean, obviously we'll be canvassing our regular food bank clients that do have school-age children, because they would be an obvious benefit. It would be an obvious benefit to them. For this, it will be a case of we'll sort of spread out and they will pick up from various locations within the county because it will be a weekly delivery system. So it will be interesting.
Good. Thank you.
Anyhow,
Thank you, Colette. Any other questions?
thank you very much for allowing me the time to speak to you.
Colette, I just wanted to say thank you. We appreciate what you do for our community. A lot of great volunteers out there, such as yourself. Our residents are much better for it. So we appreciate everything that you can do, and appreciate the very good breakdown on the information. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Is there anything that you would like to ask of us in regards to what you do?
Not at this time, but I have Sherry on email and phone, so I can always send stuff through her.
Okay.
Did you just,
Thank you.
before you go, did you just want to highlight where individuals can drop off goods for the County of Lamont Food Bank in Bruderheim?
In Bruderheim, the grocery store and at the town office, I believe. are our
And the
locations right now.
Community church too, I believe.
And,
yeah.
oh, and Bruderheim Community Church.
Okay.
Yes, definitely, because they bring the stuff to us usually every week or two.
All right, thanks.
Great, good question. Glad that you brought
You-
that up. Thanks again, Colette, and we appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us this evening. Look forward to chatting with you
No
again.
problem.
Thank you. Looking for a motion from council to
Okay.
accept Colette's presentation as information.
I can make that motion.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I move that town council accept the Lamont County Food Bank presentation from Colette McBride as information.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? I just wanted to say thank you to Colette and the group of volunteers that make this happen for our community, and the folks at large in the county of Lamont. Much appreciated. So I'll call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion is carried. Thank you for that. 5.3, Emergency Preparedness Proclamation. We have a proclamation for Emergency Preparedness Week. I'll just read that out right now. Whereas the town of Bruderheim recognized the importance of emergency management in Alberta. Whereas the goal of Emergency Preparedness Week is to raise community awareness and the need to prepare for the possibility of an emergency. And whereas the safety of our community is the responsibility of each and every one of us, and we must prepare now and learn how to secure a strong and healthy tomorrow. Therefore, I, Carl Houck, Mayor, do hereby proclaim the week of May 2nd to 8th, 2021 to be Emergency Preparedness Week in the town of Bruderheim, and encourage all residents to participate in educational activities on emergency preparedness. Thank you for administration preparing this document. We need a motion to accept that proclamation.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councilor George.
Make a motion that town council proclaim the week of May 2nd to May 8th, 2021 as Emergency Preparedness Week in the town of Bruderheim as presented.
Thank you, Councilor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Haven't heard none. Call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion is carried. Thank you, folks. And we move on to number 6, adopting minutes of the April 7th meeting. Looking for a motion from council to accept those minutes. Thank you, Councilor Judy.
I make a motion that town council adopt the minutes of April 7th, 2021 regular meeting of council.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the motion on the minutes? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to that motion? And that motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to number 7, council priorities, information requests. We'll go around the room. Start with Councilor Wayne. Any information requests, Councilor Wayne?
I'm just curious, is the all the water turned on in the campgrounds now? Is that all running? Or is that still turned off yet? Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecko. Actually, we just flushed the lines today on the center row, and the water should have been running by tonight. I didn't hear that it wasn't. So and the frost is still quite a ways down there. So we have turned on the center and renting out those stalls first, and the outside rows are still off.
And the RV dump station, that water's running too, or no? That's still off.
I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure. Sorry.
I'm just curious because
Yeah.
people start getting ready. I'm just curious if it's up and running. Okay.
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
typically don't turn the water on until May. We
Okay.
usually don't open the campground until May, but we're early this year with the amount of turnarounds in the area and people looking for space. So
And the snow tonight that's supposed to come. Perfect. Thank you.
There's 6 campers out there. Okay, thank you, Councilor Wayne. Any other information requests?
No, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Daniel.
Nothing for me at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Judy.
Nothing for me at this time.
Councilor Pat.
Yes, I was just curious about the work around the school ground there at the crosswalk. Is that positive stuff going on there?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lee, sorry, more specific?
Right at the four-way stop, you know, heading west across and then back. I mean, you got there's the yellow markings and the orange markings. Is there something happening at that corner at the school?
Oh, it looks like somebody was painting up the ground for a pipeline underground or something.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, first call or something, maybe, perhaps? Yeah.
I think so.
That's under the highway jurisdiction, so perhaps I can find out though, Councillor Lee. I'm not sure. I'm not aware of anything that we're doing right at that corner there, but.
I thought, oh, we're getting a sidewalk, yoo-hoo, crosswalk. Ooh.
Mm.
No, no.
Yeah, it was right in front of Walker School, actually, at that intersection there.
Oh,
No,
Mr. Mayor. Oh,
No,
Oh.
not that intersection, Mayor Hawk, right by the school at the, right at that corner, right where the, what can I say, kitty corner to the gas station, right there, that corner, where the kids cross at school.
Mr.
the
Mayor,
crossing
through Councillor Lee, I'll see if I can find out and send the information out.
Yeah, they got something going on around there that looks interesting. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Pat. Yeah, and further to what you're saying, I did notice it was marked up in front of Walker School. It looks like it lines up with where the water line comes into
Oh,
where Walker
okay.
School is. So somebody's
Mr.
been
Mayor.
marking something up.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that's where we're putting our solar crosswalk.
I see.
So,
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And Councillor George now.
Nothing for me at this time.
Okay, so that's the information requests. Program requests. We'll go in reverse order. So Councillor George, any program requests?
Not for me today.
Okay. Councillor Pat,
Nothing, thanks.
Councillor Judy,
Nothing, thanks.
Deputy Mayor Daniel,
None for me today. Thank you.
and Councillor Wayne.
Nothing for me, thanks.
Okay. I just wanted to say a big thank you. Today, I noticed the truck with the trailer going into the campground area to drop off a bunch of branches. So hauled them in there and quite pleased with how it's looking back there, where it used to be a jumbled mess of concrete and Humpty Dumpty hills and didn't look very good. Now there's a neat row of planted trees and a very clean area. The campground area is looking really nice. It's something to take pride in. Quite enjoyed going over there and seeing the new sign for the campground. Kids at the skateboard park was very nice. Some very positive things happening there. Thank you to the administration, our CAO, and Public Works. Moving on for requests for decision. 8.1 reserve transfer. I believe CAO Pat has floor. Am I mistaken?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Purpose of this report is to provide council with information on the allocation of the 2020 year-end operating surplus for tax purposes. The town council approved the transfer of $50,000 to R1, $50,000 to R4, and $53,797 to R6 from the 2020 year-end operating surplus for tax purposes. On April 7, 2021, the annual operating surplus for tax purposes of $153,797 was presented for information in the consolidated financial statements year ending December 31st, 2020. In 2018, Council approved the Bruderheim allocation of year-end operating surplus for tax purposes, which will be consistent with achieving Council's vision and areas of strategic priority. Strategic plan areas to provide for future funding requirements and emergent costs, and to improve Bruderheim's working capital requirements, a healthy, vibrant community, continuance of current service levels in the community, open and transparent government, public presentation of financial reporting. Other impacts, policy FIN 001024 and FIN 090. Summary, the annual operating surplus for tax purposes represents one-time funding that by nature cannot be relied on to reoccur on an ongoing basis. Therefore, annual operating surplus for tax purposes should be allocated to fund one-time, generally non-recurring expenditures, for example, capital replenishment of reserves, etc., to contribute to the economic health and sustainability of the town of Bruderheim. The recommended reserve transfers are to begin to bring the reserve accounts up to recommended minimum balances as recommended in policy FIN 001024. The current reserve account balances being recommended for transfer of 2020 year-end operating surplus for tax purposes are R1 stabilization reserve with a current balance of $7,000, R4 Municipal Infrastructure Life Cycle Maintenance and Replacement Reserve with a current balance of $71,574.38. And R6 Major Recreation Facility Debt Repayment Reserve, which is actually $25,000 in arrears right now. Communication upon council approval, administration will make the amended statement of reserves available for public viewing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. So I'm looking for a motion from council to move this forward for the reserve transfer. It looks like Councillor Wayne had his hand up first. Thank you.
The town council approved the transfer of $50,000 to R1, $50,000 to R4, and $53,797 to R6 from the 2020 year-end operating surplus for tax purposes.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Councillor Wayne?
What are these reserves supposed to be at? Like, is there an identified point, and how close are we to it, I guess?
Yeah, it's in the reserve policy, and we're a long way from that. So basically, it's about 1/3 of what we typically spend in a year. So we're slowly building those up. The stabilization reserve, our hope is to get that reserve up. And that's to offset years where taxes may have to rise significantly to offset some expenses that we're taking on. That's what stabilization reserve is. And the reason we're in arrears with the major recreation facility is that that's our donation reserve. We're taking that out for the donations for the school playground. So we're trying to build that one up. And yeah, and the life cycle maintenance and replacement reserve, that's when obviously when things happen to our buildings, and we've been doing a lot of maintenance there and all of our infrastructure, right? So.
Okay. So the R1 stabilization reserve, is that where the RCMP requisitions be coming out of every year?
Well, right now it is, because it's an impact to taxes. As you know, it's about $30,000 a year. And so we're gradually reducing. The hope is to reduce the amount that we take from that reserve, and it becomes an annual expense. But as you know, 10,000 is a 1% tax increase. So we're slowly introducing it and offsetting it with that stabilization reserve. And our hope is in 4 or 5 years that completely comes from taxes.
The RCMP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we slowly introduce that into the budget, right?
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. Any other questions from council on that motion? Councillor Judy?
Yeah, I was just looking at the school playground. And under it says balance as of January 1st, 2020, it's 174. And then we took out the 25, so we're down to 149. So the idea was we were going to put in the 200,000. Is that what the thought was?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Schuler, that's actually internal financing reserve that you're looking at. So that's where we got the 25,000. We're going to pay it back. So
Okay.
yeah, we're only going to be paying $100,000 over 4 years, so 25,000 a year, and we borrowed it from ourselves until, like, now we have a surplus. So we're suggesting that we put 50,000 that will cover 2 payments, right? So we'll
Right.
put the 25 back to our internal financing. So we're just kind of our own banker. We keep a little buffer. Sometimes grants don't come through in a timely fashion, and we have to get the tenders out. We borrow from ourselves, and then we put the money back into the internal. Yeah.
Sounds good thing.
Thank you for the question. Any other comments, questions, or concerns on the motion? I just wanted to make a note here that actually this is a good news story. When you're able to transfer money into reserves, that means that someone did their job, and we're very fortunate that we're able to put some money back into reserves to replenish that. Just wanted to say thank you for being able to do that to our CAO and administration. So if there's no other comments or questions, call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on to quarterly management report 8.2. CAO Pat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide council with the town of Bruderheim first quarter management report, which includes financial status report as of March 31st, 2021 for information. That the March 31st, 2021 town of Bruderheim first quarter management report be received for information. The town of Bruderheim 2021 first quarter management report, which is enclosed, provides the operating results for the period compared to the approved budget, otherwise known as the operating variance. December 16, 2020, council approved the 2021 capital and interim operating budgets. Strategic areas, it's a governance requirement to report to council on our financial status. Other impacts, Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Section 268.1B. The actual revenues and expenditures of the municipality compared with the estimates in the operating and capital budget approved by council are reported to council as often as council directs. Summary, administration reviewed the financial results as of March 31st, 2021, and is providing council with a status report. Operations are on track with the following summary. Revenue amounts of $319,013 to March 31st. Expenses of $565,116 to March 31st. Approved capital projects totaling $181,300, and projects that have been paid to March 31st totaled $143,809.73, which includes $54,128 from 2020 capital for the water reservoir, with a 2021 budget remaining of $37,490. The town's reserve balance as of March 31st are $859,666. The town's bank account balance as of March 31st is $882,958. The town's line of credit balance is $0. The long-term debt debentures are held on a wheel loader, fire hall, and the 2017 street improvement program. Total repayment in 2021 will be $102,870. The quarterly management report will be published on the Town of Bruderheim website, and we've attached the income statement. First quarter, as promised, report on the first quarter utility bill comparison from 2020 to 2021, which is new to the quarterly management report. Also, department variance report to March 31st, capital budget variance report to March 31st, statement of reserves to March 31st, and debenture repayments listing for 2021. And that's everything, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is the intent to review any of this highlights, or we're just going to accept it on whole, or look for questions from council?
Mr. Mayor, we would be looking for a motion to accept and then discussion.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I was just wondering if the idea was, so I'm looking for a motion from council to accept the
Put that
quarterly
forward.
management report. Thank you, Councillor Pat.
I move that that the March 31, 2021 Town of Bruderheim first quarter management report be received for information.
Thank you. Thanks for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns, or how do you want to roll through this information? Everybody's had a chance to read it.
Mhm, mhm.
Just giving everyone a moment to have a perusal if there's something that draws your eye, or I did have one thing I wanted to inquire about. Priority 4, number 3, it says attend capital CAO meetings. Is that like capital region, or not really sure what capital CAO meetings is?
Yes, my apologies, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Capital Region. They still let the CAOs attend that from the communities that don't belong to that anymore.
Right, yeah, so the 13, there's still some CAOs that are going to listen in, basically, that's what you're.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that's right, just for information.
And that's once a month, or?
Actually, during the pandemic, it's been every Friday morning for about an hour.
Okay. Yeah. Good to be connected with that group, thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns with motion on the quarterly management report? Councillor Judy.
I like this quarterly management report. I'm interested to see how the 6 months is, that we've got something to do some comparison on, especially with all your water and all that kind of stuff. It'll be an interesting variance report to help us move forward. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could just add the next report, I'll add some campground statistics since we changed that process as well. How that looked in comparison the last 5 years with the bookings online versus bookings in person.
Thank you. So there's been lots of questions from some residents about water and costs. So will this document be shared online, like on the website?
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask our Mrs. Cote, did the quarterly management report get shared online?
Yes, it did. It was part of the council package that was posted online.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Councillor George, I see you highlighted there. No? Okay. Then I'll call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion to accept the quarterly management report? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to 8.3, 2021 tax rate bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to give first reading to a bylaw that will authorize the 2021 tax rate structure in order to levy the property taxes necessary to cover budget and requisition requirements. That bylaw 05/2021, a bylaw to authorize the 2021 tax rates for the town of Bruderheim, be given first reading. On December 16, 2020, Council approved the 2021 interim operating budget of 4.18 million with revenue matching expenses, which included a 1.2% operating budget increase. At that time, Council provided direction to reduce the 1.2% to a 0% municipal operating budget increase for the 2020 final operating budget. The proposed tax rates are based on a 0% operating budget increase as directed by Council. In 2018, the town of Bruderheim incorporated a bylaw which imposed a minimum tax of $500 and $100 for the annexed land pursuant to the 2020 Lamont County tax rate bylaw. Strategic plan areas, governance requirement, other impacts, the Municipal Government Act, Section 353 requires that a tax rate bylaw be passed annually by Council for the establishment of a property tax rates for the town of Bruderheim. The tax rate bylaw is required to authorize tax rates that are necessary to generate property tax revenues required to support municipal programs and services pursuant to the approved budgets, provincial and school board education requisitions, and other requisitions. The 2021 tax rates being recommended are contained within bylaw 05/2021 pursuant to the approval of the town's 2021 municipal final operating budget. The following additional information and analysis was prepared in order to further enhance the basis for this recommendation. Comparisons on mill rates, assessments, and tax with similar sized municipalities. The tax rate equals revenue requirements divided by the total taxable assessment. Tax rates are a calculated number dependent on budget and requisition requirements in the total taxable assessment. Property taxes are not a fee for service, but a way of distributing the costs for local government services and programs fairly throughout a municipality. Municipal property taxes of $1,427,106 are required for the municipal operations. Alberta Municipal Affairs has submitted the 2021 school fund requisition in the amount of $400,094. Lamont County Housing Foundation has submitted the 2021 municipal seniors housing requisition in the amount of $55,520. And that's everything, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. So we're looking for a motion from council to accept the tax rate bylaw. This is a first reading, right?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Councillor Wayne, you have a hand up?
Council give bylaw 05/2021 a bylaw to authorize the 2021 tax rates for the town of Bruderheim to be given first reading.
Thank you for that motion, Councillor Wayne. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Councillor Pat.
CEO Patty, I'm just wondering, would you know what the requisition last year for the school fund was off by chance? No, okay.
Sorry, I can get back to you. I want to say, I see that my finance director of finance is on. Sharon, do you recall that? I want to say that there was no change, I thought, but I will get back to council. I'm pretty sure that the Alberta government kept that solid through but I will confirm that and send that out to council.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for that question. Councillor Pat, I do have one thing I wanted to just clarify for folks that may be listening. And so when it says under council history, the proposed tax rates are based on a 0% operating budget increase, that does not mean that your house may have 0% tax increase, right?
Mr. Mayor, that is very correct. Yeah. So 0% budget increase means that we're going to use the same operating budget as we did in 2020. We all know that the assessment in the entire region is down. So a house that was worth $5 last year might only be worth $4.50 now. So to get the same amount of operating budget from the tax rate will have to go up. But that should mean that we'll still get $5 from that house. There might be a little bit of a variance either way, but generally the most ratepayers, we'll do some comparisons for the second and third readings. So we'll pick some houses and show the impact.
Mhm.
But generally when the assessment goes down, the tax rate goes up, and residents typically don't see much of a difference. But
Thank you for
again,
that
it depends on assessment because things are taxed differently, right? So not everything is black and white. But again, residents are invited to call if they have questions once they receive their notice.
Great, thank you for that explanation. It's always good to clarify. Hopefully that when they see the zero, oh, my taxes aren't going up. Not necessarily.
Necessarily.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns with motion on first reading of this bylaw? Councilor George, you have your hand up?
This may not be a question greatly at this, but are we going to have the same setback and payment that we had last year, or are we going to go back to the June 30th deadline?
Oh, the deferred tax, sorry, I was having a hard time
Yeah.
hearing you. Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, at this time, we're not contemplating. We didn't have much take up on it. Again, council's always given me the consideration if somebody is struggling to make a come see me, and we can figure out a payment plan prior to the due date. So the due date will be the same, and we'll put that our Director of Finance has already put together a brochure, and we'll be very clear on that. But again, if somebody is extreme hardship, again, we encourage all residents to sign up for TIP, a monthly payment plan, which is a lot easier for people that are on a budget for sure.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for that question, Councilor George. It's good to highlight that folks who might be struggling do have an option to phone the town office ahead of time.
And Mr. Mayor, just to remind council, you did pass a motion to change how we charge the interest rates. So it won't be just twice a year penalties, not the interest rates, the penalty rates, I'm sorry. So effective this year, that changed where it's not just twice a year, we charge 18%, right? So.
Great, thank you. Councilor Wayne, you have a hand up?
So anybody that's on the TIPS program will not be penalized any tax or any penalties at all, right? That's just going to be free flowing through the end of the year. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, so in the TIPS program, you still have to make your payments. Oh, are you
Yeah, but
asking
if you're
if
on
the
a monthly
assessment changed? Yeah.
I don't know, but if people are on the TIPS program right now paying monthly payments for this coming July 1st deadline, if they're still paying TIPS on that program right till the end of December, right? They're not going to be paying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, there's no penalty. Absolutely.
And that TIPS is going to be a long-term thing.
Oh, absolutely. We established that 4 or 5 years ago, I believe. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, we've had a lot of take up of people that have got their accounts up to where they need to be, and then signed up in the TIPS program to make it easier for them. So it becomes like part of your utility bill every month, right?
And
essentially.
There's understanding TIPS program from January to July is based on the previous year's assessment value, right?
Right.
And then at July 1st, if there's an increase, it gets tacked on at that time, right?
You'll be sent a letter notifying you of the monthly adjustment. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Any other comments, questions, or concerns with motion on first reading of the tax rate bylaw? Pause for a second. Okay, no other questions. So looking for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing none, motion is carried. 8.3 is done. Moving on to 8.4, election bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to update the election bylaw to cover the latest changes to the Election Act. The Town Council give third reading to bylaw 04-2021, the election bylaw. Council passed bylaw 17-2013, the election bylaw on August 21st, 2013. In 2020, the provincial government made several changes to the Local Authorities Election Act that necessitated some changes to our existing bylaw. On March 17, 2021, Council gave first reading to bylaw 04-2021, the election bylaw. On April 7, 2021, Council gave second reading to bylaw 04-2021, the election bylaw. Mayor Hawk requested the administration review section 31, part 6 to provide some clarification on voting station. Strategic plan areas, opportunities to provide residents with information for them to consider running for municipal office in our community. A community is educated on responsibilities and limitation of council and administration. It also provides accountability and transparency. Other impacts, Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, and the Local Authorities Election Act. The bylaw has been revised in format and includes updated information. The intent of the bylaw is to provide residents and candidates some critical information about the requirements of the Election Act. The new bylaw states where nomination forms will be accepted and appoints a substitute returning officer, which would be the Chief Administrative Officer. Administration included a definition for voting station in Part 1, Section 4. The return officer will determine the location of the voting station at the time of the advertising of the municipal election and other elections that may be occurring concurrently. Locations may vary based on the complexity of the election. In this upcoming municipal election, the returning officer will be responsible for overseeing the municipal election, Elk Island Public Schools voting, Elk Island Catholic voting, Senate voting, and referendum if set forth by the province of Alberta. Communication, bylaw 04-2021, the election bylaw will be placed on the Town of Bruderheim website upon completion of the third reading. That's everything, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So we're looking for a motion for the election bylaw 04-2021. Someone from council be Councilor George.
Make a motion that town council give third reading to bylaw 04-2021, the election bylaw as presented.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns with motion on the election bylaw? Wanted to say thank you to administration for preparing this and making a small change there. It's appreciated. So if there's no comments, questions, or concerns, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion for the election bylaw? And the motion's carried. Great, thank you. Moving on to council committee reports, 9.1. Looking for a motion to receive the council committee reports as in.
I can do
Councilor Judy.
that.
Judy should do it. Sorry. Councilor Judy.
Sorry, I have to turn on my volume. I love these things when they get catchy on me. I make a motion that we approve the council committee reports as presented.
Thanks for that motion to receive the council committee reports as information. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Haven't heard none. Call for vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. 9.2 mayor report. Would someone make a report to receive the mayor report as information? Deputy Mayor Daniel.
I move that council receive the Mayor Hauk report as information.
Thank you for that motion. Just one thing that didn't make it on the report, late information. As everybody knows, we were turned down by the province for the grant application for the water reservoir. Didn't take that news very well, and a meeting upcoming in May with Minister McIver about that, because that amount of money is huge for our community for sustainability in the future, and we don't need someone standing on our neck telling us that we can't move forward because we don't have enough water. So our MLA arranged a meeting, and May 19th, the meeting with them virtually. We'll see if we can move something forward for our community. That's the only thing that didn't make it onto the mayor report. So call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the mayor report information? And the motion's carried. CAO report 9.3. We're looking for a motion, Councillor Pat.
I move that council receive the chief administrative officer report as information.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the CAO report? Councillor Wayne, you have your hand up.
Has I'm assuming admin or public works met with Fortis over the last little bit. How did they take about the straightening of the light standards and stuff like that? Were they receptive to it, or is it something they are looking at?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco. So Fortis came in, unfortunately, we haven't got their project plan yet, but they were actually sort of shocked by the condition of, we had a new set of eyes, some new people. We contacted some different people at Fortis, and they came out and they seemed very empathetic and promised that something would be done, as well as the Main Street poles that are appealing, and as well as us struggling to get quotes from them. So hopefully we'll get a project plan soon. I'm giving them till next Friday, the 30th, and we'll be back on it. But they seemed to be a little shocked with how bad tilting some of them are in the community. So
Thank you to whoever jumped on that to get hold of them and get this going. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Any other comments, questions? Councillor George has that.
Yes, I see here in the general, I'd like some information on creating the disc golf committee to look at establishing a disc golf course at Community Park. Could you fill us in what it's all about? That's there might be some interest out there.
yeah, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, the Bruderheim Ag Society approached me. They have a funding opportunity about relaunching during the pandemic, getting people active again. And it's a very small amount of money that we can access. So we were looking for opportunities, and I've had a couple of residents ask if we could look into disc golf in the past. So if you're not familiar, it's sort of like a Frisbee, but it's not, you can't call it a Frisbee. It's a disc, and they actually have putting discs and I don't golf, but all the names are the same as golfing. Drivers, yeah, all the discs. And so until we can get a playground up in our community park, we thought it'd be a great another activity for the community to enjoy. It's fairly low, any age group can do it. You throw the disc at these wire baskets, and they set a par between how many discs or it should take to get to the next one. And there's actually quite a few people in the community that travel to Edmonton to play the game, and we've already got interest, and the committee is actually probably almost full. And we're hoping to get that up and running. What's really neat for maintenance wise is they are cemented into the ground, but then you pull the basket out in the wintertime. And so that we're able to do maintenance right over top of it. So just looking, it'll be a 9-hole golf course, disc golf course. And yeah, it's kind of fun. I'm hoping community, not a large investment, and get some people active and something to do in the evening. I think it will really be a nice attraction for the 8 to 12, 14 crowd that, you know, if you don't skateboard or it's something else that you can take up, you can buy your own discs, and, you know, it's a fairly low maintenance type of activity for the community.
And one other question.
Sorry.
Could you give us a little bit more exploring opportunities with the town of Lamont on recreation training and shared services?
Yeah, the town of Lamont and me, one thing that came to mind is Canada Day. They're really interested in celebrating Canada Day, which is a first for them this year. And it's because they want, hopefully we're going to be celebrating some relaxation of restrictions. And so we talked about combining our efforts, having one fireworks show that we can both fund. And we looked at, you know, us doing Canada Day in the future and them doing Family Day. We talked about us doing some crack sealing, and they have a sweeper. So in exchange, they would do some sweeping of our roads and just exchange the services as opposed to contracting out. We also looked at, we both hire, you know, engineering firms. We both hire planners. We both hire assessment people. Is there opportunity to get a better bang for our buck if we do a larger tender for roads and sidewalks, coordinate those services, right? Because we're so close together, we could save on mobilization costs for infrastructure repairs. So yeah, just looking at some of the things that we do, and is there opportunity to partner and reduce some of our overhead.
Thank you ever so much for that information, CEO Pat.
Okay, Councillor George, that's it.
Yeah, I have filled my basket.
Okay, Councillor Wayne.
Just to go back to the golf or the disc golf, people have to buy their own discs to play it. Is that correct? But everything else will be there.
Well, it's kind of, I'm like, of course, the Ag Society will be heading up this initiative, but we're kind of thinking if we can get enough money, maybe we would have a a sign out sheet for, some packs, but it would have to, of course, be during business hours in the summer, but
But the
right
basket's
until
gonna be up all the time, right?
absolutely, yeah. Just the discs. You can use frisbees for the I can't say that. I'm not supposed to say that, but they do work. You're not going to wreck it or anything. It's
Yeah.
like using a Canadian Tire golf set as opposed to, your pings and stuff. So, yeah, it's inexpensive set is $25 to $50. Comes with a little backpack. And so I guess as far as kids sports go, a ball is $10 to $15 now, basketball or soccer ball or so.
No, fair enough.
Very affordable, and then maybe we could take orders and get a lower rate if there's enough interest. So yeah, I think it's a little fun, cheap new activity to bring to our community.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wayne. So in the disc golf course, how large of a space would it take up?
Well, that is as much as you wanted to. So you set, we're fortunate that we have a friend who sets up those courses. So he's going to come and scout out some opportunities for us. And depending on the difficulty and the par, and like it's a very serious sport. It's very competitive in the United States. And yeah, so it can go from half an acre to 5 acres, just like a small golf course compared to a large golf course, right? So it'll be in the community park area or by the school. Those are probably our only two options for town land, that vacant land on the north side of the school. But they like it to have a little bit of a hill area. So we're thinking maybe on the slope by the campground, all that space there where there's, but I mean, we'll let the committee meet with the person that knows what he's talking about and see what we come up with.
Great,
And then
thanks for the initiative.
The
Councillor
nets
Wayne?
are stuck in the ground for good. Like they're not going to be able to get pulled out at night by some
No, they actually have locks in them.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually have locks in the ground with a self-locking case on top. They're quite innovative. And if we decide to move them, really all you've lost is the cost of the cement in the ground. You can just bury it and put dirt on top and move the course in the future if we wanted.
Perfect. Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you.
You can't
Any
take them
other
home,
questions?
Wayne.
Huh? I'll start throwing from the deck and see if I can make it over there.
I believe Councillor Judy had her hand up. No. Okay. Any other questions from Councillor? I did have a couple things I want to inquire on. Under financial services, it says ran 5-year bulk water comparison listing. Is that information available, or did I miss something there?
Mr. Mayor, I was going to present that during budget, just trying to figure out, just pulling really all our revenues and finding where we've considerably changed. And so running some 5-year averages, and I'll present that during budget. Of course, you know that we've declined quite a bit. Just off the top of my head, I think 5 years ago, we were pulling in about 60,000 from bulk water. And now we're down to about 5,000 a year, and a lot to do with the oil and gas industry and fracking and right.
Yeah.
So just, seeing where our revenue sources have changed. I've just been asking the finance group to pull some things for council to see more of a visual how our financial picture changes.
That's great. I appreciate that. Looking under community services, planning for pitch-in week activities. When is pitch-in week again?
Mr. Mayor, it's next week.
Next week. Okay.
Next.
No.
Great. Just
Oh, it's this week? Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry,
next
Mrs.
week.
Cote. It's this week. Yeah.
18 to
And it's what I-
24.
Is that where we are? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for any residents that might be listening, then they can arrange to pick up garbage bags from the town office, correct?
I'll let Mrs. Cote do a little pitch on that.
Great.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, residents can call into the office and we have some garbage bags for them, and they can tell me where they are going to be picking up the garbage in town. Then we'll arrange to get the garbage picked up and disposed of afterwards. We have had residents come in already and pick up their bags to start their project already this week.
That's great. Thank you for that. Great reminder for folks. Also this week is Administrative Professional Week recognition, and we're very thankful for the folks that work for our town, and I just wanted to shout out to those folks, our CAO and all the staff. Thank you for everything that you do, and want to recognize those people for their contributions to our community. Couldn't do it without you. Very much appreciate it. And without further ado, I think that we beat that one to Hope there's any other questions for the CAO report? No. Okay, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion is carried. Thank you. And now we have correspondence items. So there's a long list of correspondence items. I believe council has seen all of this information. Am I right?
Mhm.
So
All the information.
telephone. Yep. Okay, great. So it's all listed there. And is there anything that needs to be added to that list from council?
Yeah, council through Mayor Hope, there was the one piece of correspondence regarding the grant that I sent out to you that we should add to the correspondence for tonight. That was the
So-
April 19th letter from MLA Jackie Armstrong regarding the AMWWP partnership grant. So we'll just add it to correspondence.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to accept the correspondence, inclusion of that WWP partnership grant letter. Councillor Pat,
I move that council accept the correspondence and information items plus the added info about the grant.
great, thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Hearing none, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. And now we're looking for the motion from the top left corner man there. Councillor Wayne.
Motion to go home or go to the couch, whatever's closer. I didn't recognize.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. Anyone opposed to that motion? And the motion's carried. Thank you. Just a big shout out to the Ag Society for coming up with the idea on the disc golf. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.